Because the times
Woke up this morning thinking about
Those summer days.
best friend got caught up when I stayed in Douglasville. Doing some stuff by myself. I'm a What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video. So today we're talking about how New York how New York hip hop lost its cool. I would say I rearranged that, saying how how New York hip hop lost its cool. I guess me personally, I know nowadays you have to come to the South if you want to blow up. You have to come somewhere from Texas all the way to Florida, all the way to Atlanta, somewhere. When I say Atlanta, I mean like Georgia, but everybody know. So that being said, let's get into the video. Y'all be sure to like, subscribe. This is the new setup. I got a lot more videos coming, so let's get into it.
He messed up New York City hip hop. I was saying he's the program director. He didn't play that records. Jadakiss and them should be looking for you.
I've done for your
Mad
career,
people should be looking for you.
me. Yo, man, you know what the
Now
problem
we
is?
gotta
I'm
go
gonna tell you
down
what the
south.
problem is.
Now you got to go to Atlanta.
I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. The problem
Everybody in
is
New
you're
York-
just so
everybody in New York sound like they
suppressed
from
on
Atlanta
social media
because
trying
of
to be
him.
positive that you bring this negative
You
energy
see what you
to
did
the
to
show.
hip hop? Just
You
take
and French
responsibility.
not supposed to be doing
Take
this.
responsibility. Take
It was your
responsibility
fault.
for your actions.
It was
my
your
brother.
fault. Same thing that's going on with you and French right now is the reason New York
Listen.
City fell off.
In hip-hop, the seeds of revolution that gave us the world's most popular musical art form couldn't have sprung up from anywhere other than New York. Born of the ingenuity that comes with adapting to your surroundings, hip-hop was created at the block parties and the projects of Bronx. From there, its breakbeats and its flows were adopted by youths from Queensbridge, Harlem, and Brooklyn. By the 90s, artists such as the Wu-Tang Clan had taken that energy and brought it out to Staten Island. And as the genre became a staple in music and demanded its respect, New York cemented itself as the undisputed capital of the culture. Standing as tall as any of the monuments in the city skyline, New York vibrated with the energy of the Big Daddy Kanes to the Biggies, Nas's, Jay-Z's, DMX's, and Killer Kames. Yet little by little, its position as the birth of hip-hop seems to hold less and less weight. First threatened by the rise of California's death row that allowed Dr. Dre, Snoop, and Tupac to become the biggest stars in the game, and left in danger by the power struggle that took place after Biggie's death in March of 1997, New York weathered this rocky patch thanks to the combined efforts of Jay-Z, Mace, DMX, The Lox, and Nas. But as we veered from the 20th century into the millennium, no one could have expected that the South, which was always regarded by New York as irrelevant, would take them over and leave New York struggling to recover. Although the changes in taste and the power of the internet undoubtedly had a role to play in leveling hip-hop's playing field, it's important to note that there were also forces within New York who took it upon themselves to divide and conquer, and in doing so, left the city scrambling. For one thing, you have the arrival of 50 Cent. Taking no prisoners and actively vengeful, beef was essential to his brand. Once he got the power that came with having the best-selling album of the year at a time where hip-hop wasn't capable of doing that, the city of New York became the personal playground of 50 and G-Unit from 2003 on. After all, this was not only the year that Jay-Z chose to bow out on the Black album, but DMX will never be the same after the release of Grand Champ. With the coast clear, 50 cemented himself as New York's king, becoming so powerful that he aired out his Murder Inc. rivals from the stage of Hot 97's Summer Jam. Stirring beef and belittling his enemies from the same coast such as Ja Rule and Fat Joe, the close ties between New York's iconic radio stations and 50 meant that many fans and critics believed that by focusing on 50 and doing little to present other potential NY superstars, they allowed 50's dominance over the competition to take shape. Naturally, both program director Ebro and 50 had been eager to pass the buck to one another.
He'll blame me for New York City hip hop.
It is your fault.
He was the program director. He did not play that music.
No, I
This
supported
is who
you.
they should be looking
I supported
for.
you.
That's
comes
who
back here.
It's your fault.
But you said, look, the New York City hip hop died. I didn't shoot it.
No,
you
no.
did it.
You pulled it apart. You had everybody beefing with you. Anybody did a record with Joe or Ja
He did
was
it.
beefing with you. At a time when we could have had unity, the marquee artists
Hey, look, you know
did
what?
not want to work
Check
together.
this out. Listen, look.
Taking place in September 2017, the topic of who killed New York hip-hop sparked further debate among two men who witnessed it firsthand. In particular, Joe Budden and Mano, who blamed everything from the lack of solidarity within the city to the radio's dismissal of local acts.
TurboTax Live matches you with a tax expert.
Y'all know
Who's right
something
for
funny?
you.
Whatever. I work in London, live in New York.
About this. Y'all know something funny? The top 3 legends, South, West, and Canada, right now. in the game. J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake. No one technically from New York. Had connections in New York. J. Cole got popping in New York, but he's from the South. He got his style, got his mindset from where he grew up at. Moved out, changed it up a little bit.
You
but
couldn't be mad at a A$AP Rocky for getting on and saying that he was influenced by Houston music.
True.
Me and 50 are the end of New York. My signing, the 50 signing, after that, it was the South. And I'm blaming 50 and Ebro. I think both of them in combination killed it. A$AP Rocky has to feel like that. Know why? Ebro wasn't playing no A$AP Rocky. They was looking everywhere else but New York.
Although Joe did place some blame on 50 for trying to seize the majority of radio from fellow East Coast rappers, it's not entirely fair to blame 50 when those before him had done the exact same thing. After all, the infamous Nas and Jay-Z beef started because Nas felt Jay-Z was trying to monopolize the city's radio. Long before the Billions, Jay too used Summer Jam as a platform for war and developed such a good relationship with the station's DJs that Hot 97's former presenter Mr. C admitted that we were Hove 97 for a good 6 years straight. Hove was very strategic with his moves. With the blueprint left by Jay, who also had issues with fellow NYC rappers such as Cameron, Joe Budden, and Fat Joe during his run at the top, 50 took what he wanted and made no apologies for what little airtime was left for others. And wherever possible, he'd still go out of his way to make someone such as Ja Rule look bad to this day. So when 50's time on the throne ended around the time of 2009's Before I Self-Destruct, NY was left in shambles as the Atlanta sound took over. After the early 2000s, New York struggled to find their place in the game. Mano told Complex, remember, the South started to take over, so by 2011, 12, 13, we hadn't found our sound yet. We hadn't found what the new sound was, because there was a disconnect between the older artists and the newer artists that came out. From the moment that Andre 3000 stood up in front of a hostile crowd of New Yorkers at the 1995 Source Awards and proclaimed that the South got something to say, he inspired a sense of community in Atlanta, Houston, and down south. Following in Outkast's footsteps, soon Lil Wayne, Ludacris, T.I., Jeezy, Gucci, and even Florida's Rick Ross would come for their slice of the action. Afterwards, Future, Young Thug, and the entire trap movement that dominates to this day would wade in. And while there were scuffles between Gucci and Jeezy, among others, these never detracted from the overall goal of making Atlanta into the destination of hip-hop. And as this was going on right under their noses, New York remained fixated on jockeying for position and weren't putting in the time into nurturing the local scene. And where there's a void in hip-hop, you can bet that there'll be someone just waiting to fill it.
You know what I like about down here? I get on my phone right now, I connect with 15 producers over here, and they all show me love. Chrome on face. Oh my God. My bad, everybody. But they'll all show me love. I'll be like, yo, I fuck with your music. You got different sound. Keep it going. We gonna support you and everything else. I don't see that nowhere else, bro. And nowadays, it's becoming, as I say, whitewashed in the sense of, listen to Hollywood Divorce from Outkast. That'll explain it.
Left without a sense of identity that made them into the home of hip-hop, East Coast veteran Nori had this to say on Vlad TV.
As a whole town, we're losing when you got one artist, like you got French Montana, you got Nicki Minaj. Who else can we break? I'm talking about of like the new New York. Like who do they have to look up to? We're losing our identity, and it's crazy because we was the trendsetters. The DJs and everybody isn't standing up and saying, let's all get behind this record. And then it makes New York look like it fell off because we can't leave New York.
And to this very day, the neighborhoods of New York are so used to feuding that they don't really know what unity looks like. While in other cases, such as 6ix9ine's well-documented rise and fall, they've been too apathetic by allowing him to portray the image of the city's leading artist. In turn, making the city seem like a laughingstock to others when that's the biggest star that they have to offer. During a September 2019 appearance on the Joe Budden podcast, Vince Staples said that the city's willingness to permit a man that unsurprisingly turned informant to label himself as the king of New York was damaging to the city's credibility. But in his defense, Joe Budden pulled from both the history and the future.
This doesn't set New York back. We still created hip-hop. We still have Sedgwick. Bobby Shmurda be home soon.
With New York now seemingly in such a fragile state that any nudge over its kingship, whether it be from an out-of-towner such as Kendrick or a troll such as 6ix9ine, can cause the entire house of cards to collapse, it's no surprise that Joe Budden believed that Bobby Shmurda could be a man to bridge the gap. The older rappers that were already situated in the city didn't pay up-and-comers no mind if they didn't sound like the old sound. Mel's TV's Jamel Robinson told Complex. Bobby Shmurda was the first one with a newer sound, a different sound, that was accepted by New York City hip-hop culture. Steeped in a rebuilding period, this was a time where the idea of a rapper without so much as an official debut album to his name being the leading light would be absolutely laughable. But with Brooklyn Drill commandeering a lot of attention and giving the city a sense of identity again, albeit one that was adapted from Chicago in the UK, many feel that Fivio Foreign, A Boogie with the Hoodie, and Griselda could be the beginning of a new golden era.
I just do me. And it's just like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I don't really have to explain me doing me. Me being tapped into the culture for real, me being a real individual, you know, people love that. It's enough to build a cult following. It's not a...
That group right there, that trio, they gonna do something. They doing something right now, but I feel like in the next few years, they gonna make New York be what it used to be.
Gimmick.
I can see
this
that.
Is just what, you know, we do for real, you know.
Energized by the same belief in themselves that drove New York forward during its glory years, both Griselda and Fivio are prime examples of how New York's artists can create a brighter future for themselves. As in both cases, they weren't waiting on the seal of approval of a radio station, but came out of the gate as if they'd already made it and quickly found all the love they'd ever need online. With hip-hop reaching a point where it's more regionally and musically diverse than ever, the notion of New York as a ghost town is only relevant if your sole gauge of a city's music scene comes from the charts. As when you look at everyone from Billy Woods to Max B and Beast Coast, there's more ingenuity coming out of that city than most. It's just that the numbers aren't what they once were. Secure in their position as the originators, New York's contribution can never be taken away. But at the same time, what the new wave of New York should be teaching us is that it doesn't need to discard their future out of fear that it won't measure up to a historic past. So while it may not be the epicenter it once was, and now may look to Atlanta with envious eyes, the Big Apple still has a crucial role to play as both the birthplace of the genre and a continued hotbed of talent.
That was very interesting perspective. Like, me personally, I feel like everybody's getting their sound from the South, okay? Everybody either trying to sound like Lil Baby, Future, Young Thug, you know what I'm saying, Da Baby. Like, it's a handful of people that try to sound like this way. NBA, they all from the South, bro. Like, honestly, I don't fully know where NBA Youngboy from. I think he from Texas. But even then, look at Meg Thee Stallion, she's from the South. Look at City Girls, they from the South. Granted, they got Cardi B, but we got Summer Walker. Like, like it's so, the South doing shit right now. I just don't want the South to die out. I don't want the South to have a stigma about us where it's like we only do certain type of music. Our music ain't this, our music ain't that. I don't want that to happen. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all think New York hip hop lost its cool? Let me know in the comments below. All the old heads, y'all can check me if I say anything wrong. Go ahead, I don't mind. But let me know in the comments below what y'all think. With that being said, y'all stay tuned, bro. Peace. Ario the poet.